both trips are North Africa. So like I spent most of my time in Chad, which is kind of borders it south of Libya, for reference.
Okay.
And, when I first deployed, it was kind of a little bit of a rude awakening because, I was trying to figure out, where I fit on an ODA. And
On a what?
On a Special Forces A-team at a detachment or our team. So we have typically 12 members. And my first trip, we punched out to, I think we were doing, it was either demining or counter-poaching was the first.
Really?
I can't remember which one I did first because it's all kind of a gray at this point.
Was that in southern Chad with like counter-poaching? Because isn't a lot of it desert?
We did a lot of the training in N'Djamena or Chad for counter-poaching, and then we went down to the Central African Republic, and we trained up students how to basically engage or defeat the poachers, because the poachers were slaughtering elephants at like such a huge, anything. There was a lot of, the black market was rampant at that time, and they were just slaughtering elephants, and a bunch of other on these game preserves. The poachers would come in and they'd kill an elephant for like $50 or whatever.
Yes.
And you're just like, holy cow, man. This is
But the military had you doing this.
Yeah, because they were killing game wardens, the people that worked on the preserves, and also some of the military that were trying to protect, and augment. They were just getting owned. So we had to teach, counter-poaching and like, okay, how do we combat these guys and how do we engage them? So we train our students up and then, work with them to actually go fight with poachers and things like that.
My friend Ryan Tate, who is on this podcast, he founded an organization called Vetpaw, and he's a former Marine. He served in Japan and then was in both Afghanistan and then Iraq. And when he left, he worked for the State Department and found out while he was working at the State Department in the U.S. about the poaching wars in Africa and was so blown away that he picked up and fucking moved there.
Holy shit, it rocked my world. The first one was an elephant laying on a tar road, no face. ISIS in Africa, up to 40% of their operations, terrorist activities, are funded off the illegal trade of elephants and rhinos. They are poaching animals to kill humans. We arrested the poaching network responsible for 18,000 unaccounted elephants in 1 year. If they catch a park ranger, they will torture them. They'll kill their family, everything.
The poachers.
Yep.
And so what they do, and it's in a capacity where they don't do it on behalf of the U.S. government. They work directly with the African governments in several countries over there. But he has all veterans from the United States who previously served. They come over there and they man thousands of miles of land and cover and protect the animals. It's like the Wild West,
man. It's like
keep that mic close, by the way.
Yeah, it's those areas are just crazy. I mean, you'll see. I didn't even know half the damn animals, and I've been into nature. As far as like, I'm pretty well read when it comes to flora, fauna, animals, all that, So I get over there, I'm like, what is that? It looks like a DLT. They're like, what's a DLT? I'm like, that's a deer-like thing. It's like looking at a deer that weighs 700 pounds, and, lions, and that part was really cool. But, when you pull up and you just see elephant skulls lined up, 100 of them in a row, and you're like, dang, yeah, these guys are decimating, what's left in the Central African Republic or Congo, and those areas that are somewhat untouched. So yeah, that was a pretty good as far as op. That wasn't too bad. But then we got into demining, so I had to go to Demining School, and we were trying to help demine some of the areas. So Libya, there's a trade route between Chad and Libya in North Africa, and it's super heavily mined. And so we actually had to, our students that we actually had to instruct, it was just a variety of a hodgepodge. I mean, one guy's wearing flip-flops, the next guy's wearing like a 7-Eleven shirt, the other guy's wearing like BDU top and dress pants. It's a total hodgepodge of people. And some are Arabic, some are French speakers, and it's kind of crazy. But, and I'll give you a for instance. So like when I started doing, leading one of my classes as like the new guys, like my second deployment, we had to do mine identification. So I'm showing a square anti-tank mine, and they're stackable. So, there might be like 2 foot by 2 foot square. And I'm like, hey, has anybody ever seen one of these? And one of my students raises his hand. And I'm like, well, where do you see it? He's like, at my house. I'm like, why do you have an anti-tank mine? He's like, we sit on them at the dinner table. I swear to God, the stuff you can't make this stuff up. So they had like maybe 4 or 5 anti-tank mines stacked because they're meant to stack, and their pressure detonated. It depends.
And they're sitting on there for fucking
and
dinner.
and they get, when they're in the desert, the explosives, it gets hot and cold, and they crystallize. They become sometimes less stable or more stable depending on the environment.
Shit.
And I'm like, bro, you guys are sitting around the dinner room table, sitting on stackable anti-tank mines. So it's just kind of like, you're kind of like in the Stone Age. And
you said this is like, am I right on my
Late
timeline?
90s.
This is like 98? 90?
yeah, it was around 98.
So this is like right after Princess Diana died?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because she was huge into this. She was out there because it was just blowing up kids left and right.
Yeah.
The mines is crazy.
Yeah, I'm not a, you watch movies with the EOD guys. I am not an explosives expert. I don't want to go walking in the minefields anymore after seeing some of that craziness. But yeah, so at the time, long story short, with those 2 deployments, I just didn't like where, special operations, especially SF at the time, Green Berets were doing a lot of foreign internal defense. They call it FID missions. So you're more or less training. And, the counter-poaching, demining. So the mission set wasn't really what I was looking to do. But I already had re-enlisted my second time, and I was coming up for a third that would have put me over 10 years. So I might as well stay in at that point. And so I had a heart-to-heart with my team sergeant. I said, hey, man, things just aren't, the op tempo is not exactly where I'd like it to be. I'd prefer to be kicking doors, doing really cool guy stuff. So I thought about trying some other opportunities if I decided to stay in. But I made the decision to get out because I was getting ready for my third re-enlistment.
Thank you for watching the video, guys. Please hit that subscribe button and check out this clip's full podcast episode by clicking here or in the description below.